action. So we're here in Windows Live Q&A world. Who are you? What's going on here?
Hi, I'm Nils Pohlman. I'm the lead program manager for Windows Live QnA, which is a new Windows Live service to help you get answers to your questions. And we're building this to improve our search engine.
Outstanding. Aha, we
Hi.
know you.
I'm Betsy Aoki. The last time you saw me, I was the blog queen. And actually, since then, I've gone over to work for Funky Fresh Nils Pohlman, my new boss. And I'm one of the community program managers for Windows Live QnA. And later in this talk, I'll be talking about the gadget that we have and how I hope that Channel 9 developers can also assist us in writing gadgets.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Ed Harris. I'm a development lead with Windows Live Search, specifically working on Windows Live QnA and Instant Answers.
Excellent. So all of this begs the question, what is Windows QnA? You said that it helps make your life easier, but I hear that all the time. So
Sure.
what is it? What does it do for me?
Sure, well, I can give you a quick demo here.
Please.
So Windows Live QnA. So it's a new service that you'll find on Windows Live. So it's first thing you can see here is it's going to be integrated with search. So it'll be one of the scopes that. So if you're doing a live search, you can and you want to see what other people have said about a particular search, you'll be able to come over to QnA.
Mm-hmm.
So QnA, as you can see on the home page here, there's questions that people have been asking, and the community has been answering them. So it's the question and answer format it's different from a discussion group or a forum in that the question and answer has it's a specific format, and the question's open for 4 days, and we get answers, and then the community votes on what's the best answer to that question, and then we use that question and answer pair in search results.
So what happens if after 4 days the question remains unanswered and you've closed it?
Well, you can always ask the question again. I mean, it's one of the
Okay.
If there's to ask a question in the system is really easy. Just go ahead and ask a question, and so we'll say something like, what's the best was blogging and video and developer video site.
Okay.
And so we'll go ahead and we hit continue here, and so it's taking a look at that question, and it's decided that technology seems like a good tag, computers, and then we could add in blogs as another tag right there, and
The idea is that the person who's asking the question can associate that question with any category or topic area or even niche word association that comes to mind. So it's not just that the search engine in the back end will actually look for what's in the text of the question or in the answers, but it will also pay attention to the tags that Nils is typing in there and associate it with that either broader category or specialize down into podcasting, video blogging, or a special niche association with that question. So this is just our attempt to make what people are writing more discoverable, both by people who could answer their question and people who come along later and maybe are just browsing and want an answer about where they should go next to see podcasts.
Sure. And tagging of the question certainly helps the search engine. Yes? Categorize?
Sure. Tagging lets us do a lot of things that a rigid hierarchy doesn't. It's sometimes with a complicated question, anything that's more than a naive question, it's really difficult to break it down into a single, to pigeonhole it in a single box. So what tagging does is it lets you, as the person who knows the most about what you're asking, look at what what terms you would want to associate with that question. And so we know that, for example, maybe the term blog has other words that are frequently associated with it. And so that lets us broaden the scope of searches to find other questions that might match or other answers.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So did you finish that question on there?
I did not finish it here,
Okay.
but I just wanted to point out here, so as I post the question here, so I can check a box here, and that'll let me show my messenger contacts that I've asked the question, so they'll get a little gleam next to my contact in Live Messenger. And it's also going to post the question on a Windows Live space. So if somebody browses through my space and they see my questions, that sort of increases the chance that maybe I'll get an answer to my question. And I can also get an alert set up, so when somebody does respond to that question, I'll get an email or I'll get a toast through Messenger. So we'll go ahead and we'll submit that. And so here is just showing these are the questions I've asked and the answers I've contributed. And you can see here that there's a reputation here. And so, whoops, we got a little. I subscribe to alerts for questions for myself, which is sort of a silly alert to have, but that went off.
Remind me when I ask a question. That's good.
Self-ego surf.
Absolutely. And so here you can see my reputation, and so I've set up alerts on different questions as well. But you can also, so if somebody else is browsing through Q&A and they see one of my answers, they see one of my questions, they want to know more about who's asking this, they can come through this page here, and they can actually continue on through to view my space or my Windows Live profile. So let's take a look at that.
Okay.
And that's loading up there. And let's see, we're having let's give that a quick refresh here. And so you can see on my space. Here's the question that I've just asked right there.
Cool.
And then my friends will, who are in my social network on Live Spaces, they'll also be getting a gleam, which you can see like this. There's an example of a gleam. They'll be getting that gleam in the Messenger client itself.
That means one of your friends have a question waiting for you. Or
yeah, it means they made a new contribution to their space, and they've. And that's so if you click on the gleam in Messenger, for example, that's going to pop open a card here. And so here I can see Ed's asked a question. Here's a question from Q&A, and then I can click on that and go go see the question on Q&A.
Excellent. And so when these questions get answered, obviously they're indexed and stored so that when I come and ask the question again, I'll quickly get the answer.
Right.
As opposed to posting it. So in other words, I'd say, what's the, square root of 4, right? Which is always going to have one answer.
Right.
Right. So you ask it one time. So I ask that, and then you.
And so our challenge then is to try and determine whether we have another question that was previously asked and answered that matches your intent, which can be a little tricky sometimes because the example I like to use is I may ask, what's the best pizza in Seattle? And Betsy might say, where's the best pizza restaurant in Seattle? Which probably isn't correct English, and I apologize for putting that on you. But the meaning is the same, even though the actual words are very different. So what we do is we look at the question, we look at the tags associated with it, and we try and condense it to a core meaning and then expand the number of the terms so that we can try and find an existing match for you.
Okay.
So there's a couple different ways that we can help you out. If somebody else has already asked and gotten an answer, we'll show you that, and maybe that points you on your way or lets you reframe the question a little different. If not, you can ask, and you're pretty much guaranteed the freshest answer possible, and then other people will benefit from your asking.
So now, is there a concept of very related questions? So you could, when I ask the question you just asked, the search engine, your code replies, well, I think we understand you, but check this answer out. Does that work?
Yeah, that's what we try and do.
Nils has
Here I can show an example of. So here's Ed's question, and we've got the related questions going down the side there.
Great.
And so here we've got almost the identical question, but then we've also got things like, we're looking for Philly cheesesteaks in Seattle and Italian restaurants, and so maybe I don't want to post this question again. Maybe I'll go check out and see what other people have said on that question already.
True. And of course, the thing is, though, those types of questions are very ambiguous, right? Because it's just an opinion-based thing. But a question of like, where is Pagliacci's on the east side of Seattle, which is also kind of vague. There's probably more than one, but pretend like there was just one. That question has a definitive answer, whereas what's the best X is kind of
subjective.
It's subjective, and it's interesting because you could have hundreds and hundreds of answers.
Yeah, you really can. It's that's sort of the fun of asking the community is you really get to see what different people's opinions and you get to broaden your worldview a little bit.
Okay.
And I think web search also, I mean, part of that 50% that we've talked about, that these are the queries that web search doesn't answer. I mean, some of those are the distillation of subjective opinions, or, you know, maybe that Pagliacci is actually closed and there's a new pizza restaurant in town. I mean, answers to these questions can change over time, as well as people's opinions might change over time. So it's always a moving wavefront in terms of getting the right answer to your question. So how deep is the Atlantic Ocean might not change very much, but what's the best pizza on the east side of right near Microsoft, it might change depending on whether they go to business or whether I feel like pizza that day, or
Sure.
Maybe the chef left.
yes,
Interesting.
exactly.
And what we want to do on live search is we want to have different, we call them scopes. So, you know, you may just get through traditional web search, you may find Pagliacci, their website, or you may find on Windows Live Local, you could actually find the map of all the Pagliaccis in the area. Or if you're, you know, if you have that sort of more
Need for the
subjective,
opinion.
yeah.
Or you're a chef or something, I want to know who's the chef there. That's a different question than where they are or how good they are.
So then, what does it look like when I ask a question and you already have the answer? What does it look like? You just give me the answer? So if I ask the question,
Yeah.
what's the square root of 4?
Yep.
What does it look like in the UI? You just
well, it
provide me
depends
with an
on- so-
answer?
Yeah, it's on
So
the
what I
right-hand
showed
side
you there was, so I was asking a question, these were the related questions, but you can also, you know, you could do a query here, and
There we go.
and let's see what we get back for results on that. So this is another one of the
Cool.
search scopes that
You get the questions and it's ordered by answers.
And we also
Number of
showed you
answers?
those related questions before you finished asking a question. So
Uh-huh.
if you are about to ask a duplicate, and feel, I mean, we can show you, oh, don't bother, we've already got that answer, and you can abort your question
Yeah.
midway through the process.
Well, in this case, it's not actually ordered by number of answers. This is where we want to have the most relevant search result here. So we can use all the metadata that's associated with these different questions here, which includes the reputation of the people who have contributed the content, and also what the community thinks about what's the best answer for that particular question. And so if we know we have like lots of voting, that's all stuff that goes into, you know, producing our most relevant result.
Excellent. So how do you foresee people actually using this? I mean, do you think these examples we've discussed for today are what people are, I mean, Q&A, is that how they're going to use it? What's
Well,
the best
we're
use
seeing a
case?
fair
Yeah.
number of technology questions because our beta testers tend to be Microsoft technology oriented. I mean, that sort of makes sense that they'd be the ones recruited for our beta programs.
Mhm.
So I can see developers or IT folks using this as a repository of answers. The other thing that was done was that Q&A was built as a sort of extensible platform for you to write a gadget, or I have a screensaver that was written by an intern I could show you in actually another group entirely. We appealed to the intern program, and this
Good.
fellow stood forward. His name is, this is Daniel Anik, and we all say all hail to him because he used VB.net and created a little. He's
Very
he's
cool.
still prototyping it, so this is not this is not quite V1 for him, but
It's a great language,
Fire it up.
VB.net.
Yes, VB.net is one. Oops. If I actually do anything to the screen, it will, here I can sort of back up, you can see that. What he's done is he's taken an RSS, he's programmed this so that it takes an RSS feed and displays as a screensaver and scrolls through the questions and takes the little search snippets
Uh-huh.
out and excerpts them at the top in the blue.
Nice.
And he did that actually with downloadable, I think there's an RSS SDK that Ed pointed me to actually, that he used to code it. It's very basic, and it kind of mimics the home page and what he's done.
Nice.
The other thing I wanted to show you, and we all cross our fingers because Betsy has not touched JavaScript since 1999, but this is my tag search. I wanted to exploit the fact that we have tags. So if you type, I have technology in
So
there
is this
now.
your gadget?
This is my gadget, and it works on live.com. And when I'm finally, I mean, the screensaver was a prototype, and mine is almost finished. It'll probably go into the gallery.
Great.
But I typed in food, and the RSS return changed so that it's showing me only the questions that are tagged with food.
Cool.
there are more complicated things you can do with our RSS feeds. I mean, you could do mashups. You could scope it differently to questions that have already been voted on. You could scope it to questions that have answers. You could scope it to some, like Charles Torrey. Only questions by Charles Torrey will show up in my gadget, or only questions that have been answered by Charles Torrey will show up in my gadget. There are a lot of things you could do to mix it up. I just did, like I said, a simple exploit of our tag query system.
Yeah.
But I've written a document for folks that I'll probably blog about what the parameters are and what the special meta search keywords are that you can pass in.
So
and
now,
get RSS from us.
That's cool. Now, while you were talking, I mean, can you guys hook into an existing chunk of index data? For example, what I mean by that is, so one of the great uses for this for developers would be MSDN search or MSDN forums, right? I want to find out if Raymond Chen answered this question about some arcane Win32 programming problem. And if I could just type in a question like this, your code, your stuff could help me find the answer, right? Is it going to work like that at all, or what?
Well, one of the things that we're not showing right now is deep integration with live search, but certainly pages that are hosted on MSDN or anywhere on the web, if our query processing system thinks that's the best result for the query, we'll definitely show you that. The example you gave of what's the square root of 4. Our calculator instant answer knows that the square root of 4 is 1.9999999. So we'll show that and suggest that maybe that's the right answer that you're looking for.
Cool. Excellent.
So I just want to elaborate on so Betsy was talking about the how you can get feeds, and so we have a tag-based system, and here we're showing the popular tags on the system, most of which are technology related right now. And one of the interesting things you can do when you're creating a feed is, because you want to get more than just a particular tag, you actually kind of want to get that whole sort of cluster of tags. So here you can kind of set up, we have technology and we have computers, so we sort of scoped it to those two tags, and then you can pull in an RSS feed for that set.
Excellent. Very cool. And so the way developers can program against this API is to build gadgets.
Yeah, I have the heart. Well, the easy way, honestly, is to do it the way Nils has done it, which is type your thing into the search box, hit the RSS button, you get the string at the top. That's one way to do it. There are actual more fine-tuning that you need to do, especially if you want to take RSS feeds from a particular user. I've got the terms and stuff written out here, essentially, that you'd have to pass through to scope your RSS query.
Cool.
But yeah, it could be based on the state of the question, whether the question has answers, what user it is, what the tags are.
Now, since you have this rating system and trust system, I guess is one way to look at it, there's going to be certain users that, like if I ask a question, could I target a certain user to only answer it? So let's say there's someone that's like the super, all they do is spend time on Windows Live QnA, do all the research for you.
Right. Well, I guess there's a few different ways you could implement that. If I know if I'm an expert on a particular tag, I can get that feed and sort of be monitoring that feed. I could add that feed to my live homepage, and so that's sort of one way things will get routed to people. But I think you're thinking of like sort of down the road, can we do like more specific routing of questions, and that's certainly something we'll look at.
Okay, but before we get into the future, since we haven't even addressed the present yet, how does this work? Let's talk about it. You're the dev guy. Explain.
How does Windows Live QnA work?
Yes, how does it work? Let's drill into it as far as we can.
So Windows Live QnA is built upon the Live Search platform. It's the platform that we use for the search engine that includes dozens and dozens of servers, we'll say, to hold copies of the web.
Okay.
One of the tenets of Live Searches is that no single piece of hardware should be a single point of failure. So we have the idea that every box is just a cog in the machine. And so what happens is that the data is sort of partitioned across many, many machines. When you have a query that needs to be executed, or you want to write some data to the repository, it gets split up and segmented and partitioned and safely stored. And that lets us do a lot of parallel processing when we actually go to retrieve it.
Cool.
So it's pretty fun. It's a challenging problem set.
It is, and because you're paralyzed, or parallelized.
Slightly different.
Not paralyzed. Very different. You get efficiency and more power.
We do. It scales out pretty nicely.
Nice. Very cool. So, are you guys using natural language query technologies?
We do. We work pretty closely with Microsoft Research, and we have a lot of people on the search team that are very interested in changing the search experience from the 2 or 3 terms that most people use, the canonical Pizza Seattle, into a richer search experience where people can find what they're looking for and really give us the nuance of what they're looking for.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what else? Let's talk about this isn't released yet, but when this video gets released, something tells me it will be released, huh?
Yeah.
Or
Well, it is actually. It's out there right now. I mean, you're looking at QnA.Live.com, and you can get into the. It has a private beta. If you go to ideas.live.com, you can sign up for that beta, and we let people in fairly regularly.
People are in there now, but
Yeah.
as you can tell, they're technology oriented at the moment, just because they're largely Microsoft beta testers who are in there.
Cool.
So, yeah, I mean,
And their friends.
And their friends. That's true. And the friends of friends invites have been going on for some time.
Indeed.
So we're also, in addition to building software here, we're building a community, and we've got to get the the right start to our community. So we've been pretty careful about who we've invited, and so far, we're building up service strengths in the technology.
And that brings up a great point, because whenever you have anything online, community oriented, you have to deal with what are called trolls, which I'm sure you guys are aware of. One obvious thing that a troll would do on a site like this would be to answer every single question that comes up with nonsense.
Yeah.
And so that's why you've created your rating system, and but your rating system hopefully isn't too heavily based on how many questions you answer.
Well, we've kept the rating system, and the rating system is pretty simple here. I can do a quick demonstration here. So we've got basically you can just go in, you can pick what you think is the best answer. But if you saw one of those things in there that were like, wow, this person's sort of a troll, we have you can report abuse here, so you can report any particular piece of content, and when you click on this, and I don't mean to pick on this poor guy here, you can mark whether you think it's harassment or threat. You can put in comments.
Excellent.
And if there's enough reports of abuse, there's thresholds, then the content will be automatically taken down, and it gets reviewed by our moderators too.
Cool, that's a good feature. Wish we had that on Channel 9 sometimes.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, how did you? This is an interesting question in the sense that, how do you determine when a question doesn't have an answer? So I type in, "Who am I? Why am I here?"
We've got.
And I keep doing it.
We've got those.
Yeah. So what do you do?
I'd hope that the community does have an answer for who you are. You're the guy who keeps asking, "Who am I?" over and over. That's a good question. It's going to be interesting to see where we evolve over time with that.
No, I mean, because I guess what I'm really asking is, in the grand scheme of things, 15 to 20 years from now, the idea is that you have a search engine that is intelligent enough, based on years and years of lots and lots of data that you've gathered from all these answers, and you've figured out which ones make the most sense, etc., that I can just ask the search engine a question and get the right answer.
Yeah.
That's part of the goal, right?
Yeah. So certainly what we want to do over time as we're building out the reputation system here. So we saw you can tag things for abuse, but there's probably other things you could tag these questions for, like frivolous or not interesting to other people, and maybe those won't be the most relevant search results.
Excellent. Very cool. So this is nice because you're getting the searchers involved in relevancy, like explicitly, which is cool.
Yeah. And it's actually a way for the Windows Live community to contribute to Windows Live search, so they can kind of make it their own search engine. So over time, it's got this is a new content asset. We're bringing more stuff online, and it should bring a more human feel to our search engine, because we've got this whole community of people answering and asking questions.
And in the end, it's all end up, and it's growing the relevancy of searches that you're doing, making the search engine better people making the search engine better.
Absolutely.
Which typically happens with search engines, right? Because relevancy is based on. How do you calculate relevancy?
Oh.
There's an easy question.
Caveat: I am not an information retrieval expert.
Fair enough.
My colleagues will probably smack me for this. Relevancy is in the eye of the beholder in a lot of cases. You can show evidence that the 5 major search engines in a given market are going to give you 10 different results for any given query. It's just a personal bias, and what you think is the best result is going to be very different from maybe what I think is the best result, given that we look at all of them. But search results, I guess traditionally you measure click-through on our users clicking through on what you think the best result, what your engine thinks the best result is, and sort of validating whether you got it right.
And here they're putting the best result in the system. They're saying this is the best answer to this question. This is the most relevant data that we could find. Scope to this one question and answer pair. And so, in some ways, it speeds up the process, and in other ways, it might be more circuitous because it depends on the opinion of the people who are answering that question.
Interesting. But it's not the search engine doing it on its own.
It's not passive. Someone's doing that.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part about Windows Live QnA is the human aspect.
Definitely. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly not the first question and answer service we had. Somebody asked a question, how many question and answer services are there out there? And somebody replied back with a list of about 22 other ones that are currently in existence, and there's been a number in the past. But what's really different now about question and answer service like QnA is you have the tie-in with the social networking. So the fact that you can actually you can browse into their space, and you can know more about the who's answering the questions, and so it's the integration with a search engine. It's the whole Windows Live experience that is a complementary service for Windows Live.
Absolutely. Very cool, and it ties in nicely with Messenger. You can know when my contact's asking a question.
Absolutely.
And if I can't answer it, I might have a contact that is not on their contact list that could probably answer it. My physicist buddy.
Yep, and they might browse through the social network and see that question on your space.
Very cool. Excellent. So what else do you want to talk about, Betsy?
I want Channel 9 developers to help us write more gadgets because, like I said, the last time I touched JavaScript was 1999, and when my gadget goes live, I think people will see exactly how inexperienced a JavaScript programmer I am. So I would rather be bested. I would like you guys to all show me your medal and code something better than what I have. And I know you can do it. I know you can do it. So do it.
All right.
Yeah, and Betsy is not a developer. Ed challenged her to write a
Ed double dog
gadget,
dared me.
and
It was all Ed.
And
It's true.
He's harsh.
I threatened to yank her PM card after she finished it, though.
Wow.
So when you look on the site, there's RSS feeds all over the place. So that's sort of a starting point of if you can find the page on the site and hit the RSS feed, that's something that you can use to bring content into your gadget.
And we'll publish the specs for the special meta tags and all that, so you'll be able to scope things a little more.
So can you scope things by keyword as opposed to just tag? I want to say physics, or I want to say math, or I want to say some arcane part of math.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, sure.
It'll work just like any other RSS feed where you can put in either a tag, a search term, a user's ID, you name it.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, I'm psyched to see this. I'm psyched to see you guys open up to more of the public.
Yeah.
And once you get all your private beta feedback. But let me ask you, why do you do private beta stuff on Windows Live? Why not just make it beta for everyone? What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, it's a chance to build the product right, get lots of feedback, and we can sit around and speculate about what we think is most important for the product. But for a product like this, where at least half of the success of it is going to be the strength of the community, we really want to start out listening to the community. What does the community want to make this thing, and what do they need to make it successful? And so that's the approach that we started with, and we'll continue to listen to them, because there's really we have a very, very long list of ideas on how to improve it, and it's the things that we hear from the community to get the most weight.
Good.
And that's why we have the blog, and that's why we have the message boards. And Q&A itself has been used as a feedback mechanism for beta testers. So there are 3 different ways that you can shoot me an email if you want to as well. But we've got these 3 channels by which we want people to derive what they want to see next into our product.
Excellent. And you have a way of telling you that, submitting and say wrong, very wrong, guys.
Yeah, you failed to nail it.
Failed to nail it. Work
Yeah.
on your algorithm.
Give us some feedback, definitely.
Okay. Excellent. Well, great to meet you all.
Right on.
And
Good to see you
thanks
again,
for
Charles.
spending time on Channel 9.
It's nice to meet you.
And this is great stuff, putting the human in the search.
We're looking forward to launching it.
Handcrafted search results.
Very cool. All right, take care, everybody.